3 days before my wedding, my sister smiled in my face while secretly planning to destroy my entire life. And the worst part? I trusted her completely. People always said Naomi and I looked alike growing up. Same eyes, same laugh, same voice when we got excited. But what nobody ever noticed was how different we were underneath. I believed in loyalty. Naomi believed in winning, even if it meant hurting people she claimed to love. Looking back now, I realized the signs were always there, small moments hidden inside ordinary memories. Birthdays where she needed more attention than everyone else. Family dinners she somehow turned into performances about herself. Compliments directed at me that somehow ended with her feeling insulted. But I ignored it for years because she was my sister. And when someone shares your blood, you convince yourself their jealousy could never become cruelty. I was wrong. 3 days before the wedding, my apartment looked like chaos wrapped in white fabric. Dresses hung from doors. Makeup boxes covered the kitchen counters. Flower samples, invitations, and seating charts filled almost every surface inside the living room. It should have been stressful. Instead, I was happy, truly happy. After 6 years together, Malcolm and I were finally about to get married. And unlike so many relationships around us, ours survived real problems. Job losses, family pressure, long distance, financial struggles. We survived everything together. At least that's what I believed then. Naomi arrived around 7 that evening carrying takeout bags and wine like the perfect supportive sister. She hugged me tightly the second she walked in. "You're finally getting your fairy tale," she whispered. I smiled instantly because I thought she meant it. For the next hour, we sat on the floor laughing over old memories while organizing final wedding details. Naomi helped me choose earrings. She fixed tiny problems in the seating chart. She even calmed me down when I started panicking over the first dance song. That's what hurts most when I remember that night. She acted loving, comforting, protective, while already planning betrayal behind my back. At some point, Malcolm called my phone. Naomi glanced at the screen for half a second before handing it to me with a strange little smile I didn't fully understand then. "Hey, beautiful," Malcolm said warmly after I answered. Just hearing his voice made me relax immediately. "You surviving wedding madness?" he joked. "Barely," I laughed. Naomi watched me quietly the entire conversation. Now I know why. Because she wasn't watching her sister talk to her fiancé. Oh. She was watching the man she wanted for herself. Later that night, Naomi offered to take several wedding items to the venue storage room for me the next morning. "Less stress for you," she said casually. I thanked her without hesitation, again trusting her completely. Around midnight, after she finally left my apartment, I remember standing near the window smiling to myself. My life felt stable, beautiful, safe. I had no idea my entire future was already collapsing behind my back. The next morning, everything changed. I woke up to 23 missed calls. At first, I thought something had happened to Malcolm. Then I saw my mother's text message. "Call me immediately." My stomach tightened instantly. I called her back within seconds, and the moment she answered, I knew something was horribly wrong. She sounded panicked. "Baby," she whispered shakily, "there's something you need to see." Then she sent me a photo. One single photo. And the second I opened it, my entire world stopped breathing. Because standing inside my wedding venue, wearing a white dress meant for me, was my sister, holding Malcolm's hand. For a few seconds, I genuinely couldn't breathe. I kept staring at the photo like my brain refused to understand what my eyes were seeing. Naomi stood in the center of my wedding venue, smiling beside Malcolm, while decorators worked around them casually in the background like nothing was wrong, like she belonged there. My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. "What is this?" I whispered. My mother sounded close to tears. "I don't know what's happening," she said quickly. "People started calling me this morning asking why Naomi was at the venue in a bridal dress." My heart pounded painfully against my chest. "Oh," I said immediately. No, this has to be some kind of misunderstanding. But even while saying it, something dark started forming inside me, because suddenly dozens of strange moments from the past year began replaying in my head all at once. The way Naomi always found excuses to be around Malcolm. The private jokes between them I never fully questioned. The random late-night texts she claimed were about wedding planning. My stomach twisted harder. I grabbed my keys and rushed out of the apartment without even changing clothes properly. During the drive, my phone kept vibrating nonstop. Friends, cousins, bridesmaids, everyone had questions. Nobody had answers. By the time I reached the venue, a crowd had already formed near the entrance. Guests arriving early stood outside whispering nervously, while staff members looked completely confused. The second people saw me stepping out of the car, silence spread instantly. That terrified me more than anything. Because silence means people already know something you don't. I pushed through the entrance doors quickly, my heels echoing across the marble floors. Decorations filled the ballroom exactly the way I designed them. White roses, gold lighting, crystal centerpieces. My wedding. Or at least it was supposed to be. Then I saw her. Naomi stood near the stage wearing a white bridal gown almost identical to mine. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled perfectly, and standing beside her was Malcolm. My fiancé, the man who promised to love me forever. For a moment, nobody moved. Naomi's smile faded slightly when she saw me. Malcolm looked pale instantly. And suddenly, the entire room felt like it was waiting for a disaster to happen. I walked toward them slowly, trying to keep my body from shaking. "What is this?" I asked quietly. Neither of them answered immediately. Silence hurt more than screaming would have. Finally, Naomi stepped forward carefully. "Please let us explain." That word nearly destroyed me. I looked at Malcolm directly. "Explain what?" He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Coward. Naomi tried again. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. That sentence lit something inside me instantly. "Like what?" I snapped. "Like my sister stealing my wedding." Several guests looked away uncomfortably now. Good, let them feel uncomfortable, because my entire life was collapsing in front of them. Naomi's expression hardened slightly. "You're being dramatic." I almost laughed from disbelief. Dramatic. She was standing inside my wedding venue wearing white beside my fiancé. And I was dramatic. Then Malcolm finally spoke. "Please calm down," he said softly. That made everything worse. Because he sounded guilty, not confused, not manipulated, guilty. I stared at him with tears burning in my eyes. "But tell me this isn't real." Another silence. Then Naomi reached for Malcolm's hand, and he let her. That tiny movement shattered whatever hope remained inside me. "We didn't mean for you to find out like this," Naomi admitted quietly. "Find out." Meaning there was something much bigger happening behind my back. Something planned. Something deliberate. I stepped backwards slowly, feeling my heartbeat turning cold instead of emotional now. Because suddenly I realized this betrayal didn't start today. It started long before my wedding. And if Naomi thought she was about to walk away with my life, then she had forgotten one very dangerous thing. Knew her secrets too. The room stayed painfully quiet while I stared at both of them. Naomi still held Malcolm's hand confidently now, almost like she expected me to break down completely in front of everyone. And maybe that was her plan all along. Humiliate me publicly, take my place publicly, win publicly. Because Naomi never cared about stealing things quietly. She needed people watching when she took something that belonged to someone else. I wiped my tears slowly before speaking again. "How long?" I asked. Neither of them answered immediately. That told me enough already. But then Malcolm looked down at the floor and whispered the words that nearly destroyed me. "Almost a year." The entire room felt like it tilted sideways. A year. While helping me plan my wedding, while attending family dinners beside me, while hugging me and calling me sister. Naomi had been sleeping with my fiancé for an entire year. I looked directly at her. She smiled at my face every single day. Her expression tightened slightly, but not from guilt, from irritation, like my pain was becoming inconvenient. "It just happened," she said quietly. That sentence snapped something inside me instantly. "No," I replied coldly. "Things like this don't just happen." Several guests nearby pretended not to listen, but everyone was listening. Good. Let them hear the truth. Naomi crossed her arms defensively now. "You and Malcolm were already falling apart." I stared at her in disbelief. "We were planning a wedding, but were you happy?" She fired back immediately. That question hung in the air awkwardly, because deep down there had been problems lately. Stress, distance, tension. I ignored because I thought wedding pressure caused it. Now I understood the real reason. He wasn't becoming distant randomly. He was giving pieces of himself to someone else. Not my own sister. I turned slowly toward Malcolm again. And you, I asked quietly, you let her do this? He looked miserable now, but I didn't care anymore. I never wanted to hurt you, he said. Another lie. People who don't want to hurt you don't betray you for a year. Naomi suddenly stepped closer to him possessively. Stop acting like he forced this, she said sharply. We fell in love. I laughed once. A broken, painful sound. Love? I whispered. You call betrayal love? Her jaw tightened immediately. And for the first time since I arrived, I saw anger in her eyes. Not regret, not shame. Anger that I wasn't quietly accepting humiliation. That's when I realized something important. Naomi expected me to collapse, cry, beg, maybe even leave quietly while she stepped into my place. But Naomi forgot something dangerous about me. I don't stay silent once I stop loving someone. I looked around the ballroom slowly, at the guests, the decorations, the family members pretending not to stare. Then my eyes landed on my mother, standing near the entrance, crying silently. Suddenly, the sadness inside me began turning into something colder, something calmer. Because if Naomi wanted a public performance, then maybe she deserved one too. I looked directly at her. You really think you won? I asked softly. She frowned slightly. What does that mean? I smiled for the first time since arriving. A small smile, but enough to make her uncomfortable, because Naomi knew that smile. It meant I knew something she didn't want exposed. Her confidence shifted instantly. Don't. She whispered suddenly. Interesting. Very interesting. I stepped closer slowly. You stole my wedding, I said quietly. So maybe it's time everyone learns who you really are. Malcolm looked confused immediately. What is she talking about? Naomi's face lost color fast. Okay. And in that moment, I realized I still had the power to destroy everything she built on top of my pain. Because some secrets don't ruin relationships, they ruin entire lives. The second Naomi's face changed, I knew I still had control over something. For the first time all morning, she looked afraid. Not nervous, not uncomfortable. Afraid. And that fear told me the secret still mattered. Malcolm looked between us with growing confusion. What is going on? Naomi stepped forward quickly. She's upset. She's just trying to hurt people now. I almost smiled again. Classic Naomi. Whenever she lost control of a situation, she immediately tried controlling the narrative instead. But this time it wasn't going to work. No, I said calmly. I'm done protecting you. That sentence hit her hard. I saw it immediately in her eyes, because Naomi knew exactly what I meant. For years, I carried a truth that could destroy her relationship with almost everyone in that ballroom. Kept it hidden because she begged me to. Because she cried in my apartment, promising it would ruin her future forever if anyone found out. And because, despite everything, she was still my sister. At least until today. Naomi lowered her voice sharply. Don't do this here. I stared at her for a long moment. Interesting, I whispered. You didn't mind humiliating me here? The room had become completely silent now. Even the wedding staff stopped moving. Everyone sensed something ugly approaching. Malcolm stepped closer carefully. Ava, what secret? I looked directly at Naomi one last time, giving her one final chance to tell the truth herself. But instead of honesty, she chose arrogance again. Go ahead, she snapped suddenly. You're already embarrassing yourself anyway. That was the moment I stopped feeling guilty. Completely. I took a slow breath before speaking clearly enough for the entire ballroom to hear. 3 years ago, I said, Naomi got involved with a married man. Murmurs spread instantly through the crowd. Naomi's face tightened, but I kept going. She didn't know he was married at first, I admitted, but after finding out, she stayed anyway. Malcolm looked shocked now. Several relatives exchanged uncomfortable glances, but Naomi crossed her arms defiantly. That's your big secret? I shook my head slowly. No, I replied. That's only the beginning. Now she looked nervous again, because she knew what came next. I looked around the room before continuing. The married man she was involved with wasn't random, I said quietly. My mother covered her mouth instantly, because she already understood. Naomi whispered sharply, Stop talking. But I didn't. He was our cousin's husband. The room exploded into whispers immediately. One aunt gasped loudly. Another family member stood up completely stunned. Malcolm stared at Naomi like he was suddenly seeing a stranger. And the worst part, I still wasn't finished. After the affair was exposed, I continued calmly. Naomi begged me not to tell anyone else the truth. Naomi stepped toward me furiously now. Enough. But years of protecting her ended today. She also stole money from our grandmother's medical fund to help him move out of state after the scandal. Complete silence. Dead silence. Because now this wasn't relationship drama anymore. This was betrayal layered on betrayal. Naomi looked like she might completely lose control now. "You lying bitch," she hissed. I laughed softly through the pain. "I know," I said quietly. "That's your role today." Malcolm slowly removed his hand from hers. That tiny movement changed everything. Naomi noticed it instantly too. And suddenly the confidence she walked in with started collapsing right in front of everyone. The secrets only stay powerful while nobody knows them. And hers were finally breathing in public. Naomi looked around the ballroom desperately, like she was searching for someone to save her from the truth. But nobody moved. Nobody defended her. Because once people start connecting lies together, everything changes fast. My mother sat down slowly in one of the front chairs, looking completely heartbroken. Several relatives whispered to each other openly now. Even the wedding staff stared awkwardly while pretending to continue working. Malcolm? He looked sick, not just guilty anymore. Shaken. Like he finally realized the woman he chose over me wasn't who he thought she was. Naomi noticed it too. Immediately, that was years ago. She snapped defensively, and she's twisting the story. I crossed my arms calmly. Am I? Her breathing became uneven now, because she knew I still had more. The dangerous thing about protecting someone's secrets for years is that eventually you learn exactly how fragile their image really is. Malcolm stepped backward slightly from Naomi. You told me your family hated you because they judged your past. Naomi turned toward him fast. They did. I almost laughed. No, I corrected quietly. We protected you from consequences. That landed hard, because it was true. For years, our family cleaned up Naomi's disasters quietly, excused her behavior, covered scandals, paid debts, smoothed relationships she destroyed. And every single time, she somehow convinced herself she was the victim instead of the cause. Until now, Naomi pointed at me furiously. You're only doing this because you lost him. That sentence hurt more than I expected, not because it was true, but because part of me still loved the version of Malcolm I thought existed before today. I looked at him slowly. You knew she was my sister? I said quietly. Every single time you touched her, you knew exactly who she was. You couldn't even meet my eyes. Coward. Again. Naomi suddenly grabbed his arm possessively. We love each other. But this time, Malcolm gently pulled away. That tiny movement cracked her confidence completely. Malcolm? She whispered nervously. He rubbed his face slowly, like the reality of everything was finally crushing him all at once. You told me your family lied about you, he said quietly. Naomi's voice became desperate now, because they always judged me unfairly. No, I interrupted calmly. We were exhausted from cleaning up your damage. The ballroom felt colder somehow. It's not emotionally. Truthfully. Because once manipulation loses control of a room, reality becomes impossible to ignore. Naomi looked around wildly now, realizing she was losing the audience she thought she controlled earlier. Then she turned toward me with pure hatred in her eyes. You ruined everything, she whispered. I stared at her for several seconds before answering. No, I said softly. You did. And deep down, she knew it. That's why she looked terrified now instead of angry. Because Naomi finally understood something she never expected. This wasn't ending with her winning my life. It was ending with everyone seeing hers clearly. Malcolm suddenly stepped farther away from her completely. That movement felt final. Naomi noticed immediately, and panic flashed across her face. Say something, she whispered to him. But he stayed silent. Oh, and silence can destroy a person faster than screaming ever will. I took one slow breath, feeling the pain inside me changing again, not disappearing, just hardening. It's betrayal does that eventually. It stops feeling sharp and starts feeling cold. I looked around my ruined wedding one final time, then back at my sister. The woman who thought humiliating me publicly would make her powerful. But now everyone in that room finally understood the truth. Naomi didn't steal my wedding because she loved Malcolm. She stole it because she needed to feel chosen over me. And that kind of emptiness destroys everything it touches. The room didn't feel like a wedding anymore. It felt like a courtroom where every lie was finally being judged in public. Naomi stood frozen in the center, her white dress now looking less like celebration and more like exposure. Malcolm had completely stepped away from her side, like distance alone could protect him from the collapse happening in real time. And for the first time since I walked in, Naomi had no control left. She looked at me with shaking anger. "You did all this to punish me?" I shook my head slowly. "No," I said calmly. "I did this because you never stopped." That truth hit harder than anything else. Because she knew it was real. Naomi swallowed hard, her voice breaking slightly now. "I'm still your sister." For a moment, something inside me hesitated. Old memories tried to surface. Childhood moments, shared rooms, shared secrets, shared laughter. But then I looked at her properly. Not the sister I grew up with. The person she became when no one was watching. And the hesitation disappeared. "Sisters don't destroy each other like this," I said quietly. The room went completely silent again. Even the air felt heavier now. Naomi took a small step forward. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. That sentence, that excuse, always the same pattern. Yes, always after damage is done." I stared at her for a long moment. "Then when did you plan to stop?" I asked softly. She didn't answer, because there was no answer. Malcolm finally spoke again, his voice low. "I think I need to leave." Naomi turned toward him instantly. "You're choosing her over me?" He laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "I'm not choosing anyone," he said. "I'm leaving both of you behind." That was it. The final crack. Naomi's entire expression changed instantly, like reality finally became too heavy to stand in. "No," she whispered. "You can't do that." But he already was. He walked past her without looking back, and just like that, the man she stole my wedding for disappeared from her life in under 10 seconds. Naomi stood there completely still, like her mind couldn't process what just happened. Then slowly she turned toward me again. But this time, there was no confidence left, only emptiness. "You're happy now?" she asked quietly. I thought about it for a second, then I answered honestly. No, that confused her, because she expected revenge to feel satisfying. But real betrayal doesn't create happiness, just ends illusions. I stepped closer slightly. "But I'm not living in a lie anymore," I continued. "And that's enough." Her eyes filled with tears now, but not the kind that fix anything. Hey, the kind that arrived too late. "I didn't want to lose you," she whispered. I nodded slowly. "You lost me before today," I replied. Silence again. Final silence. Not dramatic. Just real. Looked around the ballroom one last time. The decorations, the guests, the broken ceremony that never happened. Then I turned back toward the exit. Behind me, I heard Naomi sink into a chair quietly, not crying loudly, not screaming, just breaking silently in the only way left. But I didn't look back again, because some endings don't need closure from the person who caused them. They only need distance. And as I walked out of that venue, I finally understood something important. Sometimes the people closest to you aren't the ones who lose you. They're the ones who make you choose yourself.